pass it around. 98 bottles of beer on the wall. 98 bottles of beer on the wall. 98 bottles of beer. You take one down, you pass it around. 97 bottles of beer on the wall. 97 bottles of beer on the wall. 97 bottles of beer. You take one down, you pass it around. 96 bottles of beer on the wall. 96 bottles of beer on the wall. 96 bottles of beer. You take one down, you pass it around. 95 bottles of beer on the wall. 95 bottles of beer on the wall. 95 bottles of beer. You take one down, you pass it around. 94 bottles of beer on the wall. 94 bottles of beer on the wall. 94 bottles of beer. You take one down, you pass it around. 93 bottles of beer on the wall. 93 bottles of beer on the wall. 93 bottles of beer. You take one down, you pass it around. 92 bottles of beer on the wall. 92 bottles of beer on the wall. 92 bottles of beer. You take one down, you pass it around. 91 bottles of beer on the wall. 91 bottles of beer on the wall. 91 bottles of beer. You take one down, you pass it around. 90 bottles of beer on the wall. 90 bottles of beer on the wall. 90 bottles of beer. You take one down, you pass it around. 89 bottles of beer on the wall. bottles of beer on the wall, 79 bottles of beer. You take one down and pass it around, 78 bottles of beer on the wall, 78 bottles of beer on the wall, 78 bottles of beer. You take one down and pass it around, 77 bottles of beer on the wall, 77 bottles of beer on the wall, 77 bottles of beer. You take one down and pass it around, 76 bottles of beer on the wall, 76 bottles of beer on the wall, 76 bottles of beer. You take one down and pass it around, 75 bottles of beer on the wall, 75 bottles of beer on the wall, 75 bottles of beer. You take one down and pass it around, 74 bottles of beer on the wall, 74 bottles of beer on the wall, 74 bottles of beer. You take one down and pass it around, 73 bottles of beer on the wall, 73 bottles of beer on the wall, 73 bottles of beer. Take one down and pass it around, 72 bottles of beer on the wall, 72 bottles of beer on the wall, 72 bottles of beer. You take one down and pass it around, 71 bottles of beer on the wall, 71 bottles of beer on the wall, 71 bottles of beer. Take one down and pass it around, 70 bottles of beer on the wall, 70 bottles of beer on the wall, 70 bottles of beer. You take one down and pass it around, 69 bottles of beer on the wall, 69 bottles of beer on the wall, 69 bottles of beer. You take one down and pass it around, pass it around. 51 bottles of beer on the wall. 50 bottles of beer on the wall. 51 bottles of beer. Take one there, pass it around. 50 bottles of beer on the wall. 50 bottles of beer on the wall. 50 bottles of beer. You take one there, you pass it around. 49 bottles of beer on the wall. 49 bottles of beer on the wall. 49 bottles of beer. Take one down, pass it around. 48 bottles of beer on the wall. 48 bottles of beer on the wall. 48 bottles of beer. You take one down, pass it around. 47 bottles of beer on the wall. 47 bottles of beer on the wall. 47 bottles of beer. Take one down, pass it around. 46 bottles of beer on the wall. 46 bottles of beer on the wall. 46 bottles of beer. Take one down, pass it around. 17 bottles of beer. Take one down, pass it around. 16 bottles of beer on the wall. 16 bottles of beer on the wall. 16 bottles of beer. Take one down, pass it around. 15 bottles of beer on the wall. 15 bottles of beer on the wall. 15 bottles of beer. Take one down, pass it around. 14 bottles of beer on the wall. 14 bottles of beer on the wall. 14 bottles of beer. Take one down, pass it around. 13 bottles of beer on the wall. 13 bottles of beer on the wall. 13 bottles of beer. Take one down, pass it around. 12 bottles of beer on the wall. 12 bottles of beer on the wall. 12 bottles of beer. Take one down, pass it around. 11 bottles of beer on the wall. 11 bottles of beer on the wall. 11 bottles of beer. Take one down, pass it around. 10 bottles of beer on the wall. 10 bottles of beer on the wall. 10 bottles of beer. Take one down, pass it around. 9 bottles of beer on the wall. 9 bottles of beer on the wall. 9 bottles of beer. Take one down, pass it around. 8 more bottles of beer on the wall. 8 bottles of beer on the wall. 8 bottles of beer. Take it down, pass it around. 7 more bottles of beer on the wall. 7 more bottles of beer on the wall. 7 more bottles of beer. Take one down, then you pass it around. 6 more bottles of beer on the wall. You got 6 bottles of beer on the wall. You got 6 more bottles of beer. Take one down, pass it around. 5 more bottles of beer on the wall. 5 more bottles of beer on the wall. 5 more bottles of beer. Take it down, pass it around. 4 more bottles of beer on the wall. We got 4 more bottles of beer on the wall. 4 more bottles of beer. Take it down, you pass it around. 3 more bottles of beer on the wall. 3 more bottles of beer on the wall. 3 more bottles of beer. You take it down, you pass it around. 2 more bottles of beer on the wall. We got 2 more bottles of beer on the wall. 2 more bottles of beer down. You take it down, you pass it around. 1 more bottle of beer on the wall. We got 1 more bottle of beer on the wall. 1 more bottle of beer. Then you take it down and pass it around. No more bottles of beer on the wall. No more bottles of beer on the wall. No more bottles of beer. Go to the store, buy some more. 99 bottles of beer on the wall.